Hello and welcome to the Virtual Career Fair Etiquette Workshop. This video workshop will provide you with everything you need to know to best prepare for your day of experience at any of the virtual career fairs that are taking place this semester. Before we continue, a quick disclaimer. If you have not watched the workshop video that discusses how to prepare before the fair, you will want to make sure that you watch that video first so that you have more of the context for the conversation that we are having in this video. In this workshop, we will be reviewing the concept of networking and more specifically talking about how to network in two different environments. These two different environments will be information sessions and one-on-one sessions with employers. Then we will transition to discussing what steps you will take after the fair has concluded. And lastly, we will discuss additional tips and considerations that you should keep in mind while participating in virtual fairs. Now, what is networking? Many students and adults are hesitant when they hear the word networking because they do not fully understand what it entails. In these next few slides, the concept of networking will be broken down by a simple analogy. When you review this photo, what do you see? Well, you see a bee and a flower, but what is happening in this photo? The answer is related to the concept of networking. Networking is about developing mutually beneficial relationships with professionals and individuals that you are looking to add to your network. In the case of you attending a virtual career fair, you are attempting to develop a mutually beneficial relationship with employers that you are conversing with. You are benefiting from the relationship by hopefully receiving an internship or job opportunity that will provide you with new experiences, sets of skills, payment, or credit for your work. At the same time, the employer is benefiting from this relationship by hiring someone like you to complete required tasks. This is a mutually beneficial relationship. Now, how does this relate back to the photo of the bee and the flower? Well, the bee is benefiting from this relationship with the flower because the bee is receiving the nectar from the flower. And the flower is benefiting from the relationship because while the bee is retrieving the nectar from the flower, it is also rubbing up against the pollen on the flower and then transferring it to the next flower it flies to, therefore pollinating the surrounding flowers to contribute to the growth of more flowers. Now, when you review this photo, what do you see? Well, you see a mosquito and human skin. What's happening in this photo? Once again, the answer is related to some people's perception of networking. Some people may view networking as a way to use others to get what they want in life, or take advantage of what others can give them. This should not be the case. However, when referring back to the photo, you can see that this is indeed a representation of that relationship that we are referring to. In this case, the mosquito is the only person benefiting from the relationship, taking the blood from the human. Humans don't benefit from mosquitoes. Similar to when attending a virtual career fair, you do not want to simply ask for how the employer can benefit you by having them give you an internship. You want to establish a relationship with them that is mutually beneficial so that the both of you are able to benefit from the relationship at hand. So how do you create a situation for a mutually beneficial relationship to occur? It all starts with a great first impression, which we will dive into next. In the next few slides, we will discuss how to network specifically in a virtual information session that you will participate in during a virtual career fair. Once you have that context, We will then talk more specifically about how to network in one-on-one sessions with employers. The purpose of virtual information sessions is to provide the attendees, you, the student, with an overview of the employer or organization's mission, vision, and values so that you can understand why the company or organization does what they do. Additionally, employers will provide an overview of the opportunities that they currently have available, along with the types of applicants they are looking for. These sessions are typically 30 minutes long and contain anywhere from 3 to 100 people. There are typically a range of 2 to 5 employer representatives in attendance, and the remaining audience are students like yourself who are interested in what opportunities the employers have available. Now, some of you may be thinking, how do I stand out during an information session when dozens of people could be attending? That is a great question. Here are a few things you want to take in consideration when you are tuning in to a virtual information session. Number one, since you will be listening for the majority of the time, nonverbals are essential. Yes, this means that you will have your screen on during these virtual information sessions so that the employer can see who you are as a person and so that you can showcase your interest. Two, some common ways to engage nonverbally would be to nod your head as you are listening to the points that are being brought up to showcase understanding and agreement. Number three is smiling every once in a while to showcase that you are interested and curious in what they have to say. Number four, showcase in your video that you are taking notes. As a side note, if you are taking notes, you will want to make sure that you are not typing your notes and instead writing them in a notebook or notepad. Typing during a virtual information session may appear that you are not paying attention. You could be messaging, emailing someone else. Writing in a notepad or notebook leaves no room for interpretation. It is clear that you are taking notes regarding the session. Number five, lastly, if there are times for questions at the end of the session, you will want to ask a question to showcase your interest. But before asking your question, you will want to introduce yourself, which is what we will be discussing next as it directly relates to the start of your experience for effectively networking during a one-on-one session with an employer. The next group of slides will discuss the details and strategies you will take when participating in a virtual one-on-one with an employer. Your virtual one-on-one sessions with employers will be 10 minutes long. Within that time frame, you will have the opportunity to introduce yourselves. The employer will ask you questions, and lastly, you will have time to ask your questions. Now, if you have ever been in a job or internship interview, you will notice that these 10-minute conversations sound and feel like an interview. So next, we will discuss your strategy for preparing. Envision yourself getting onto an elevator and you have the duration of the ride going to the next floor to introduce yourself and make it memorable. This is exactly how it will feel and look when you are asked to introduce yourself to the employer. It's otherwise known as the elevator pitch or tell me about yourself question. There are 3 areas that you want to focus on when approaching this question. Number 1 is your introduction, where you will state your name, class year, and major. Second, you will share your intended objective goal. And third, you will explain your value, which is articulating your skills and experiences. The next 3 slides are examples of how you can tailor your introduction. Notice that I highlighted the 3 sections that should be indicated in your introduction. Highlighted blue is the introduction section, green is your intended objective goal, and red is your explanation of your value. After introducing yourself, you will be asked a series of questions to see if you are a good fit for the company or hiring opportunity. Be prepared to answer questions like, why are you interested in this company? Or what do you hope to learn or gain from potentially working with us? Or why do you feel you are a good fit for this position? You may also be asked behavioral questions. The goals of these questions are to understand how you would act in a certain situation. So if you hear questions that start with, tell me about a time, or describe a situation, or give me an example, you know it's storytelling time. Be genuine and provide context. And believe it or not, there is a method to answering behavioral questions, and it's called the STAR method. You'll want to describe a specific situation, explain the task that you had to complete, describe the specific actions you took, and then close with the results of your efforts. Before the session closes, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. And your strategy for asking those questions is to receive additional information to better inform you about the nature of the work so that you know what to expect. You also want to strategically listen to what the response is for the questions like, we are looking for someone who, or we are needing assistance with, and then to specifically follow up with examples of how you can provide that solution or value to them as a candidate. Nice job! You completed your one-on-one with the employer, but your work is not done yet. Make sure you prepare a draft of your follow-up message to the employer before you attend their session. That way, you'll be a step ahead of the session. That way, you will be a step ahead once the session is over. Start by thanking the employer for their time and for sharing information about the organization. Then, include something specific you enjoyed discussing or learning about and reiterate your interest in the company. Finally, indicate that you are taking next steps, such as applying for an open job. If you have drafts ready before the fair, you can quickly edit them and send them after your sessions, and be one of the first students to follow up. That will definitely help you stand out to the employers. Additionally, it may be wise to connect with the employer on LinkedIn and add them to your network. But if you don't have a LinkedIn, no worries. Connect with your career education specialist. There are additional things to consider. The easiest way to make a great first impression with employers is to be on time for your sessions. You can enter a video session 5 minutes before the session begins. That's a good idea to set up phone alerts or calendar reminders for your sessions to ensure that you are logged in to Handshake and ready to go. It's also really important that you stay for the entire session. If you have a one-on-one session with an employer, you wouldn't dream of logging out early, right? Well, the same goes for a group session you're attending. Maybe the session isn't quite what you thought you were signing up for, or all of your questions were answered early. That doesn't matter. Just like you, the employer has a busy schedule and their time is valuable. Being on time and staying until the end of the session demonstrates that you are responsible and respectful. Thank you for taking the time to learn more regarding virtual career fair etiquette. If you have any questions, please schedule an appointment with your career education specialist through Starfish or visit us during our face-to-face or virtual drop-in advising hours. Once again, thank you and best of luck at the virtual career fairs.